Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's Stalls Transfer Express webinar, Growing Your Hobby into a T-Shirt Business. My name is Andy Curtis. I am the Learning and Development Manager here at Transfer Express, and I am thrilled to bring you such a fun topic today. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. If you have joined me before, welcome back. But it's funny because as I look over our list of attendees here, I really don't see any names I recognize. I love that. It looks like we have a bunch of new people with us. So welcome if this is your first webinar with us here at Transfer Express. If you're new, here's how it usually works. I am going to join you for the next 45-ish minutes, and we are going to discuss growing your hobby into a t-shirt business. You should notice there is a chat box off to the side there, and you can type into the chat box. I will see the chats pop up. I will do my best to interact with you. If you joined me before, you know I love to do it. If you guys get really excited and start asking a lot of questions and I happen to miss one, yep, there you go, Mike Raleigh, right there. If I happen to miss a question or a comment, I have a helper behind the curtain who is going to be watching the chat box for me as well, because sometimes I get so into talking that I miss what's happening over there. Also, we are recording this webinar, and it will be posted at transferexpress.com in the very near, there we go, there's my helper. The webinar will be posted on transferexpress.com in the very near future. So if you do happen to miss part of what I'm saying or there's a distraction, it is not a big deal. You'll be able to watch the video. And in addition to all of that, you can also get a PDF of our slides if you email us and ask us for them. So with that being said, we are going to dive into growing your hobby into a t-shirt business. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. You know what? This is such a fun topic for us because at Transfer Express, we are so lucky to get to see so many people at different points of their career with their t-shirt business. We see people who are really big and who've had a lot of success and have been doing it forever. And we see a lot of people who are just brand new into the industry. And it is so much fun. Oh, yes, Joanne Rush, you should be able to hear me. Hopefully everybody can hear me there. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Good. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm sorry, Joanne. I don't know why Joanne can't hear me. As long as everybody else can. All right, good. Good. All right. So I'm sorry. Back to what we're talking about here. We're so lucky to get to see so many people at different points in their t-shirt career, in their t-shirt business's career. One of our favorite groups of people to work with, though, are the startups, the people who are just getting into it. And that's where any of you who have a hobby doing this, who have a hobby playing with t-shirts or messing with t-shirts, or maybe you haven't actually done it yet, but you want to get into it, you're the kind of people that we really enjoy talking to because there's so much help we can offer you. It's the purpose that the reason for our business, the why of Transfer Express, the reason why we come here every day is to help you make your business successful. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. And any way we can do that. We offer so many different services and products to help you be successful. Whether it's artwork or whether it's suggestions, whether it's customer service, whatever it may be, whatever you need from us, we will certainly help you out with. So we love this topic of helping you start your business. So specifically today, we're going to be talking about how to take your hobby of messing around with t-shirts. Maybe you got a little bit of a side hustle going on where you're just kind of playing with t-shirts on the side. Maybe you've made some shirts for family members or for friends. Maybe you've got a hobby heat press and you've actually got to play with transfers a little bit. Whatever you're doing, maybe you've got to mess with this just a little bit and you're ready to start expanding. We're going to talk about where you are now. We're going to talk about how much it costs to start an actual business. And trust me when I say we're going to talk about actual above board business here. We're going to talk about places that you can sell your custom apparel, and I'm going to give you guys some strategies that people in that hobbyist position will be able to grasp onto and work with. We'll talk about pricing, and then we're going to talk about collecting money. We're going to talk about Square and PayPal specifically. So that being said, we've got a lot to cover here, and hopefully we get it in the next 45 to 60-ish minutes, give or take. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first question, this is one that is something that you're going to have to do some self-searching for. I can't necessarily hand you an answer on this one. The question is, where are you now? So what's going on with you right now? Are you at that point where you're just starting to think of starting your own business? You're maybe at that point where you're bouncing around some ideas. Maybe you're trying to figure out, well, I want to do my own thing. I want to be my own boss. What do I do? Or are you at that point where you are a crafter already? You've done some of that crafting and you want to get into shirts, or like I said, maybe you have a hobby press and a hobby cutter and you've messed with custom t-shirts a little bit, or not even cutting. Maybe it's embroidery. Maybe you've got a nice sewing machine and you've done some embroidery at home. Where exactly are you in your life cycle right now? This is an important question because starting a business like this is a very serious commitment. We will do our best to help you with as much as we can here at Transfer Express, certainly. But you need to do the self-assessment first and make sure that you're in a place where you're ready to do this sort of thing. Now, something I do want to point out to everybody, if you are starting to think about starting your own business and you're just in that research phase, then we have a lot of information we can assist you with. I understand this very well. I do. I come from an entrepreneurial family, and I remember when I was 13 years old, my father decided he was going to start his own business, and he couldn't quite decide if he was going to start a restaurant business based around hot wings or if he was going to start a machine shop. So it's kind of funny when you get to that point where that entrepreneurial spirit kicks in and you're ready to go do your own thing, but you're just not sure what it is yet. We can definitely help you out there. We've got a lot of information that we can give you in terms of how to start that business off and why it should be t-shirts and all that good stuff. Not quite the point of this webinar, but we have a lot that we can offer you. So if you are that crafter where you've been messing around with things and you've gotten to that point where maybe you're ready to get into shirts or you're ready to make it more serious, if you're there, then we can certainly help you out. We can help you get to that above board point where you're ready to start actually making money on the shirts you've been playing with. So how much does it cost? Let's get to the bottom line. I don't want to beat around the bush too much and give you all the happy, fluffy stuff. How much is it going to cost to start your business? If you're ready, and the question is, are you ready? The total investment will be under $1,000. I know, right? It's a little bit shocking. A lot of times when you look at the garment decoration industry, I'm going to assume that there's a lot of us out there attending today who might not be totally familiar with the garment decoration industry. Here's what I'll tell you. A total investment of under $1,000 is a very, very low investment to get into garment decoration. There are garment decoration methods out there that are incredibly exorbitant in their startup costs. There's a lot of equipment to purchase. There's a lot of things you have to do. So for a total investment of under $1,000 to start an above board business, that is a fantastic starting point. A fantastic starting point. And something that I don't have on this slide that I will throw out there too is you have to not just imagine the whole cost in terms of how much actual money it's going to cost you, but what about how much time and energy it's going to cost you? If you're going to start your own business, it's definitely a time investment, but is there a high rate of learning? Is there a really sharp learning curve? That's something else you have to think about. And the good news is when you start a business based around heat printing, a heat press, like we're going to talk about here in a second, when you start a business based around this, there's not a high learning curve at all. Not a high learning curve at all. And if you've ever attended any of my in-person classes that I've done at any of the trade shows in the industry, I love telling this story. So if you've heard it before, please forgive me. I'm going to tell it again. I love to tell the story about when my little sister wanted to press shirts for her karate class. I was that guy that opened my mouth and told my sister's karate class and the guy that owned the karate studio that I could make shirts for his business. And I did not realize that he had so many classes. I saw my sister's class of these little kids, and I thought there was maybe there was 50, 75 people. Oh gosh, no. This man ended up wanting 250 t-shirts, and after I gave him the price, he was so excited he wanted 250 hoodies. So I'm suddenly realizing, oh my gosh, I've gotten myself in so deep. I needed help pressing all of this. So I wrangled my 12-year-old little sister, and I told her, okay, you know what? It's your karate class. I'm going to make you help me press these t-shirts, and I'll give you a cut of the profit. And 12 years old, it took her maybe about 15, 20 minutes to get comfortable with the heat press. That's it. That's it. It really is simple. The learning curve on heat printing with this heat press that we're going to talk about here, the learning curve is not steep at all. It is very easy to get the hang of. It is very easy to grasp and understand. And the total investment is under $1,000. And side note, of course, all of the karate t-shirts and hoodies turned out fantastic, and I ended up selling them a whole lot of garments over the years. So you never know where these little business things will pop out from, right? All right, so one other topic I definitely want to mention to everybody is the concept of a reseller's license. Okay. If any of you have joined me before, then I have talked about this topic in the past, but I want to make it clear that if you're going to turn this into an actual business, if you're going to actually do this and you want to make money, you really, really, really want it to be above board. And I say this because there are benefits that you are going to get from having a reseller's license that you will not get if you're just trying to do this out of your house, under the table, etc. You want to make sure to actually get a reseller's license. But here's the best part of that, is that it's actually not a big deal in most places. Okay. Now, we're from Ohio here at Transfer Express, so we used Ohio as an example. And the good news is, in Ohio, it only costs $25 to get a reseller's license. You get your resale number immediately, and you can immediately start getting wholesale pricing without any hassle. And let me tell you that once you see at any t-shirt warehouse out there, once you see wholesale pricing versus retail pricing, there is no question that retail or reseller's license is definitely important to have. Now, I cannot speak for every state in the union, but I can tell you that to get that reseller's license in the state of Ohio, it is very easy. When you go to ohio.gov, the Department of Taxation, boom, one of the first links on the page, very simple to accomplish. I did happen to mess with a couple other states out there, and the good news is that in places like California and Texas and Montana, it is also easy to get a reseller's license in those states as well. You know what? I'm sorry, Sharon, I didn't check North Carolina. So I can't tell you every state, but I can tell you that of the states I did happen to go looking actively, it is not difficult to get a reseller's license. And again, the reason you want to do this is because you're going to get wholesale pricing from a lot of different vendors out there. And you, to be honest with you, you'll get access to vendors. There are some vendors that won't deal with you at all if you don't have a reseller's license. All right, so definitely the place to start. If you're going to take this from hobby to business, this is definitely the first step. All right, so with that being said, I mentioned a minute ago that the startup cost is under $1,000. All you need is a heat press. Heat presses start well under $1,000. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit more detail in just a second here, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this before we get into what is a heat press and all that good stuff. This is honestly the only investment you have to make. This is the only investment you have to make. All you need is your two hands, that heat press, and you can start pumping shirts out of your home lickety split. All right. This is the way to turn that side hustle of yours into big Benjamins. Okay. So definitely easy to do. There is no other convoluted equipment. Now, Are there other accessories that you could buy along with the heat press? Sure. There's other things you could buy, little bits and pieces to make your life easier. But when it comes right down to it, the only thing you need to buy is that heat press. That's it. All right. Now, for those who are unfamiliar at this point, what I want to throw out there is the reason we're telling you need a heat press here at Transfer Express is because the transfers that we produce, they are screen printed transfers. We also produce digital transfers. They cannot be applied with an iron. So for those of you out there who are saying, well, I have a nice iron, I could totally iron whatever on, I don't need a heat press, forget that. Let me be the first person to tell you that the whole home iron thing, it doesn't work. And for those of you who want to go out and prove it, you will discover this the hard way. I've done the experiment myself. And the problem is your iron, first of all, is probably not going to get hot enough to actually activate the adhesive on a transfer. But even if you do have a really nice iron, industrial iron that does get super hot, you're not going to be able to press hard enough to give it the pressure that it needs to properly transfer onto a shirt like a heat press would. So that home iron, not going to cut it. You do need to get a heat press. The good news is, though, the transfers that you get from us at Transfer Express, they are honest to gosh screen printing. And we can do honest to gosh full color digital transfers as well. So you will get that high quality. You'll get the best quality, but you have to have that heat press. Now, I am going to get on the soapbox for a second here. Honest to gosh. Yes, Nicole, I'm full of a lot of those cliches. But that being said, I am going to get on my soapbox here for just a second. All right, here's the deal, people. When you start looking at starting your business and you're going to break into it, you're going to take your hobby of playing with t-shirts, maybe it's even a crafting thing that you do with t-shirts, you're going to take it and you're going to make it a business, and you want to start actually decorating. You're going to buy that heat press. Why are you going to buy the heat press? Because you want to do screen printed transfers, because you want to do rhinestone transfers, because you want to do foil transfers, you want to do the fun bling stuff. So you need a heat press to do all of it. So you start looking at heat presses. You go, oh my gosh, I can get a $300 heat press off of this website. No problem. Okay, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't pull the trigger on the $300 heat press. Please, please. Even if you don't purchase a heat press, thank you, Teresa, for that backup. Don't even think about it. Even if you're not going to purchase a heat press from Transfer Express, which we can do, we can set you up with the heat press that is right for your business. But even if you're not going to purchase from us, don't purchase a $300 press. Don't do it. Oh, really? See? Reese Floyd, I did. Regrets. See? Those $300 heat presses, they might be cost effective, and you might be going, oh, it's the perfect press. It's only $300. It'll start me off. It's $300 that you're going to flush straight down the toilet. The $300 presses cost that much for a reason. The heat press you buy needs to be a reliable one. It needs to be something that you can rely on. You're starting your business with a heat press, okay? And if that heat press is a piece of junk, then you have formed the cornerstone of your new business on unstable ground. You don't want an unstable foundation, all right? A low-quality $300 heat press, you're not going to be able to count on it. If it breaks, who's going to fix it? Those $300 presses, they don't have warranties. And even if you're saying to yourself, well, I'm handy, I'll find a way to fix it. Sometimes they're made so that they're not totally fixable, okay? On top of that, the $300 presses, the cheap presses, they're not accurate in their time and temperature and pressure, okay? That's, by the way, on a side note here, step off the soapbox for a second. The holy trinity of transfers of doing heat decoration is time, temperature, and pressure. You need time, temperature, and pressure to make a transfer work. So back on the soapbox now. If you have a press that isn't accurate time, or maybe the pressure is off because the pressure knob is a piece of junk, or maybe the temperature is not right because the thermostat they use to make the press is a piece of junk, then you have a heat press that when you turn it to 365 degrees, you might not even be at 365 degrees. You might be at 340 for all you know. You're going to be ruining t-shirts that half apply and the transfer turns all gummy and yucky and it doesn't actually come off the paper. And let me tell you, you cannot just put it down and try it again. Oh no, it does not work that way. You've made a mess. You've ruined a shirt. All right. And here's another part that stinks. Those cheap presses, they can have cold spots. The reason is the heating coils, and they look just like little springs. The heating coils that cause the press to heat up, the cheap presses are cheap because they don't put those heating coils across the whole machine. Sometimes they do an X shape with the heating coils. Well, that means that the front of the press, the back of the press, and left and right sides, the extreme sides, they're all cold. They don't have any heating coils. They don't warm up. So when you try to press a transfer, you get the middle of it looks really nice, and then you peel it, and oh my gosh, the edges didn't stick. Well, that's why. All right. And I just want to throw this out there, since we're all professionals here. The honest truth of it is, if you ruin one order, especially if it's one of your first orders where you're forming your business, you're just starting your business off, you just scored your first client, if you ruin that order, that one ruined order damages your credibility and it eats up all that profit that you're trying to make. All right. What's worse is if you're in a small town, keep in mind that kind of thing spreads. That word of mouth definitely spreads. So my advice to you all is that even if you're not going to purchase one of our brand heat presses, just don't purchase one of the cheap $300 ones, because all it's going to do is cause you headaches. It might be nice maybe for the first order. Maybe it works just a little bit right at the beginning, but not after that. Lori, that is a good question. Can you suggest some affordable brands of heat presses? Well, I am predisposed to the Hotronix, so that is what I'm going to throw out there, Lori. The Hotronix is the place to start. The Hotronix press will come with that fantastic warranty. It will come with the bells and whistles that make your life easier. The Hotronix also has a very economic model called the Max Clam, M-A-X-X. The Max Clam is actually probably the perfect clam machine, probably the perfect heat press machine for this community of people who we're talking to right now, because the Max Clam is going to be affordable. It's going to be very economical. It doesn't have every single bell and whistle, but frankly, it's stuff that you don't necessarily need when your business is starting off. And what's great is when your business does take off and maybe you need to buy a second press or a bigger press, what have you, the Max Clam is a great press for longevity that you can set aside, can be your backup press. It's also lightweight. You can travel with it. And if that starts to set off ideas in your head, that's a whole other webinar topic. But anyway, my suggestion, honestly, Lori, would be to start with the Hotronix, look at the Max, M-A-X-X Clam, start with the 15 by 15 model. That's where you're going to want to go. All right, so let's start selling. All right. The question is, are you ready to do it? This is a big decision to make. This is something you have to consider, especially if you've been doing this as a hobby, if you've been doing this as a craft, if it's something that has just been, like the joke I made earlier, if it's been a side hustle. Are you ready to actually start doing it as a business? This is something you need to consider because this does ramp up the seriousness just a little bit. All right. When you're doing it as a business, you have to consider things like the reputation, and you have to consider things like your capital. You have to consider there's a lot that goes into it. All right. So are you ready to start selling? All right. So if you're ready to do it, if you know that you're ready to start selling, let's talk about where to sell. So you're a new business. You're taking your hobby to the next step. You've bought your heat press and you didn't buy the $300 press that's going to poop out on you within the first couple weeks. You bought your nice heat press. You're ready to start making shirts. Where do you sell to? All right. This is where you're going to have to bust out your inner extrovert just a little bit. Honestly, knock on some doors in the community, not necessarily residential doors. So I'm not going there. So don't think I'm telling you to knock on the doors in your neighborhood, but knock on the doors of the community. Go to the local schools, Find teams, companies, friends and family. Friends and family are the best, because as soon as people find out that you can make t-shirts, opportunities come crawling out of the woodwork. It's almost frightening how this kind of thing happens. One of the best places you can start, though, is a school, a daycare, anything with kids involved. Now, again, I'm not going to spend a whole massive chunk of time talking about this, because we actually have whole webinars dedicated to this topic of where to sell to. And Nicole brings up a good point here. A lot of times you have to be on a vendor's list for companies and schools to use you. You're right, Nicole, that can be true, but that's not all companies and schools. It depends on the size of the school district, and it would depend on the size of the company as well. So this is where you aim for the little stuff at first, especially if you're just starting off. Don't shoot too high. Start with little things and move upwards from there. That's my honest input. One of the best examples here locally, if I sort of rein this into the city that we're in here in Transfer Express, we're in Mentor, Ohio. In Mentor, we have part of the city that's called Restaurant Row, and they call it that because we got a ton of restaurants all up and down, and they're not constantly changing, but there's, restaurants come and go. Every time I see a new restaurant move in, especially if it's one of the mom and pop restaurants, because we have a lot of those, every time I see one of those restaurants move in, I always think to myself, if I had my own shirt business, I would be knocking on that door of that restaurant the first day that I see that there's people in it, because I would want to absolutely go start selling to that restaurant. They need polo shirts, they need aprons, they need all sorts of stuff. And Loretta, that's a good question. I'm going to get there in about 2 seconds. So hold that thought. But honestly, pay attention to your community. Look for the little businesses. Look for the new people. Look for the people moving into the community. Okay? Those are the people you're going to want to start with. All right? In addition to that, schools. Schools can be tough to get into. I'm not going to lie. Schools are great to get into, though, if you can, because once you get your foot into a school, you can get not only like team-based business for the baseball team, for the soccer team, for the basketball team, but the cheerleaders. You can get into the school activities, the programming club, the gaming club, all sorts of clubs and different people in the industry or in the school need shirts. Okay. So absolutely a great place to start the selling process. And again, I encourage you, if you're going to do this, get in touch with your friends and family, put the information out there, because t-shirt opportunities come from all places. It never ceases to amaze me how when somebody hears that, I don't even have my own business, I just work here at Transfer Express. When somebody hears that I work at Transfer Express, it's amazing how people go, oh, my friend has a restaurant that needs blah, 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 blah. Or my buddy just started up I had a friend who's a masseuse who wanted shirts for her and her business partner. And you never know where these things are going to come from. And Cecily, that is a fantastic suggestion. Cecily from Dallas says, when visiting local business, should I just introduce myself and show generic samples or customize a logo? That's a great question. Generic samples are great, because something you're going to learn very quickly, Cecily, is when you're visiting these local businesses, whether it's a school or a restaurant or a company, whatever, if you try to have a customized sample, it's way too exorbitant to be able to do that. To come up with some kind of customized example and print one piece, it's way too pricey to do that. So having just generic samples, that doesn't hurt anything. If anything, what you want to do, Cecily, we can send you free generic samples of just about anything you want in terms of different types of transfers. We can send those to you without a problem. So what you do is you take those samples for the sake of showing the quality of the product you can put out. And if they want an example of artwork, if they want an example of what transfers will look like, we can help you with that as well. We offer online services here at Transfer Express, an online design tool where you can pop online, design your shirt, print a copy of what it'll look like. So you can show your customer, here's an example of a creative shirt that I can come up with, and here's an example of the quality of it. Anyhow, so those are just some ideas of where to sell to, and I'm going to give you a couple more ideas here, actually. And somebody suggested this. I think I saw a couple messages go by that I didn't quite read, but setting up a booth at different events, something that you want to pay attention to is events in your area. Even if you're not great at knocking on business doors, maybe. If you stop and really look at your community, and again, I'm just basing this on our little county here in Northeast Ohio. We're about 45 minutes, half an hour from downtown Cleveland, so we're a suburb, but we're not really a massive county or anything. So when I look at our county, there are a ton of events that happen in our county, and they're perfect for people in your position. As a startup business, as somebody from the local community who's doing the craft or the hobby thing, you are the perfect person to represent the community and go to these community events, sporting events, craft fairs, first day of school welcomes, church carnivals, church festivals, school stuff. There are tons of events out there. And even if an event isn't advertising for a t-shirt booth or something, what you do is you find an event, contact the event organizers, tell them who you are and what you can do. And I'm going to kick it up a notch here. Let's say you've got a school or a church event, or maybe it's some kind of local cause. Contact the organizers and tell them, hey, I can sell $10 t-shirts at your event, and I'm going to donate $2 from every t-shirt to your school, church, or event. Now, I'm pulling these numbers out of the air a little bit because it'll depend on the price you're going to get for the shirts and for the transfers, of course. And you'd want to make sure to do something a little conservative, because if you're going to be donating money, you don't want it to be crazy expensive. But the point is, you find these local events and you find out who the organizers are and tell them what you can do. Okay. Sometimes you do have to set up how the payments are going to work, and maybe they do take a cut of your profits, maybe they don't. And even if they do, the best part is it gets your name out there. That is the best thing, to get your name out there. If you're going to cross this bridge, then getting your name out there is the first battle. Somebody suggested this. I definitely saw this go by. Mark Schofield. There we go. So Etsy. Etsy's perfect. And I'm going to give you some pluses and some minuses in just a second here. But if you don't know what Etsy is, I will not hold it against you, because it's sort of mainstream, but I guess it's sort of not at the same time. If you haven't messed with Etsy, do yourself a favor. Go to www.etsy.com, ETSY.com, and just browse. Etsy's perfect because it gives crafters and creative people a place to launch their businesses. It gives you a starting place. It gives you a place where you can sell onesie, twosie things, specially customized things. But there are some pros and some cons to this, okay? In terms of the pros, Etsy is so simple to set up. Anybody can do it. Lots of people know who Etsy is, and they are reputable. It is not a scam. Okay. What I love about Etsy, I think it's hilarious. Etsy has a huge community. There are people that are so dedicated to Etsy that it's not even funny. They're very interactive. It's less expensive than having your own website. To have your own Etsy store, very, very cost effective. Okay. But there are a couple cons here too. It is very easy to get lost in the crowd. I have a couple people who I love to buy their stuff on Etsy. I enjoy Etsy a lot. But you know what? There's the couple people whose stores I go to, and every time I do hit Etsy, I do discover that, gosh, there are just so many people there. It's definitely easy to get lost in the shuffle there. You need to do something to make yourself stand out. And the other thing that does kind of stink a little bit, there are more sellers than buyers. All right. That's definitely a downside. Fees are 20 cents per listing plus 3.5% of the selling price. So you do have to make sure you are looking at your pricing the right way. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. I actually have a great pricing model for you to use, but you do have to make sure you're charging the right amount. And keep in mind, you can't go too high because then people aren't going to buy from you. So you got to be careful when it comes to posting your stuff on Etsy, when it comes to the pricing part of it. And the other thing that does stink, if you had your own website, you could do whatever you want with it. The Etsy shop, there's not a lot of customization there. So consequently, it's kind of hard to stand out. So these are just some of the things you need to think about when it does come to the Etsy stuff. If Etsy is not your thing, maybe you don't like Etsy for whatever personal reason, I will throw out that there are a couple other options here. There is artfire.com, Zibbit.com, Folksy.com, and eBay. They all have their own different flavor to them. If you go check out these websites, you will see that some of them are sort of a different theme-ish. Like, here's my personal opinion, is Folksy.com is nice because it's a tiny bit more crafty than the other ones. I think I get a real heavy craft vibe from Folksy.com. Artfire, meanwhile, I personally see it as a little bit more the creative side of things. Maybe not that the crafty side isn't creative, but Artfire tends to be maybe a little bit more out there, a little bit more different. That's just my personal perception. You'll find a lot different communities here. And then, of course, eBay. How could we forget eBay, right? eBay is definitely an option as well. Just keep in mind that the problem with eBay is that it is very, very heavily saturated. So eBay is definitely not the easiest to start with there. So, and Joe Park pretty much just said it. I wouldn't just do Etsy. Use it as one tool in your toolbox. That is perfect, Joe. That's the whole point of bringing up these other websites. You don't want to do just Etsy. You want to get your name out there in as many places as possible. And to that effect, I have some more suggestions here too. Pinterest and Facebook. Facebook is so cliche. I know that everyone's going, okay, yeah, Facebook. But I wonder how many people, have you really stopped and looked at Facebook? Have you really stopped and thought about it? Facebook is an amazing tool. It really is. Facebook ads are a whole other breed of animal. The amount of control you have when it comes to using Facebook for advertising, the amount of control is incredible. Oh, Reese, perfect example. Most of my sales come from Facebook. Exactly, Reese. That's what I'm talking about. Facebook definitely works. If you haven't messed with it, then you definitely need to look into it. Now, again, it's very competitive and it can be a little bit saturated, but you can target your audience. You can definitely get business from Facebook. All right. And here's something else that I want to throw out there. I don't know a lot about it yet. I haven't gotten a chance to really get in depth, but Pinterest buyable pins are just starting. So you will be able to purchase off of Pinterest as well. For the crafting hobby community, Pinterest, I'm sure everybody knows what Pinterest is. Pinterest is definitely a great spot for the crafting hobby community. And the fact that you'll be able to do buyable pins now, that's another fantastic example. Is there a webinar for Facebook? You know what, Eric? I do not have a Facebook webinar, but I appreciate that suggestion. That's actually a fantastic idea going forward. So thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. So, going along the same vein as Etsy and Zibbit and Folksy and Artfire, and I hope I gave you some ideas, maybe gave you some websites that you'd never heard of before. Along that same concept, there's the idea of having your very own website. Now, this is something that does scare a lot of people because, frankly, do you know how to type HTML code? Because I don't. Not very many of us out there know how to program in HTML or Java for that matter. So making your own website, that seems so impossible, right? Not quite. Having your own website is easier than you think in terms of making it happen. Bear in mind that if you are going to go the route of having your very own web space, it is going to cost you a little bit of money. Okay? This is something you're going to have to pay for a little bit, but the good news is that it doesn't have to be crazy expensive, And there are services out there that make it very cost effective for you. I've listed 4 of them here. These are not the only ones either. These are the 4 that I found the most reputable: Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, Weebly. These are the 4 websites I would hit. They're all basically template-based websites, drag and drop, where you pick sort of a pre-made template. You can customize some fonts and some colors and put your pictures up there, but it gives you a template that you work within. Those are perfect because you don't have to be a programmer. And if you're creative enough, you can make a website that still helps you stand out. Now, as far as sheer suggestion goes, I would go check out all of them just for the sake of checking it out. Oh, Loretta, thank you for the suggestion. Big Cartel. All right, $10 a month, not bad. WordPress. Thank you, Joe. WordPress is also very good to use. You know, I personally am not a big fan of WordPress's user interface. Joe, if you want my honest opinion, I don't like WordPress's user interface, but I'm a little bit biased. I enjoyed Wix.com. Wix.com I thought was creative. Squarespace was really different as well. Squarespace, you could really make a really interesting looking website using Squarespace. Shopify, I feel like, is maybe not quite as creative, but is definitely practical. So I would encourage you to check these different websites out. Again, this is another one of those steps to take when you're ready to take it. Don't charge into this one full bore, because this is something you need to make sure you're ready for before you commit. It is going to take time to do. So collecting the payment. This is one of those things that I think 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, this would have been a whole different topic that we probably could have done a webinar by itself on. But today's day and age, it has become so simple to do payments yourself. It's just not even funny. PayPal and Square are the 2 best places to start, in my opinion. I wanted to give you multiple options, hence including Square here. Honestly, for the most flexibility and for the most trusted, I think that would honestly be PayPal. I don't think there's much debate on that particular one. So I would suggest starting with Pay. Oh, well, see, Keith has a different opinion there. Go Square. You know what? I have not used Square myself personally, but Square definitely appeared to be pretty cool. They definitely had nice resources on Square. I personally, if I was going to start a business tomorrow, I've known PayPal since I was a kid. I've had a PayPal account since I was 16 or 17 years old, I think. So I would use PayPal just because I know it really well and I'm super comfortable with it. But the point is, beyond what we all prefer, the message that I hope everybody gets is that there are very easy options. There are very easy options for you to get your payments. Both of these services will allow you to get you can get the little MagStripe readers that connect to your cell phone, allow you to take credit card payments. PayPal even has a service where you can take a photograph of a check and get a check cashed that way. So there are really simple ways to get payments these days. So if you're going to take your hobby, your craft to the next level, you can do it and easily get paid for it. It does not have to be difficult. Whew. All right, and I love the conversation going on over in the chat bar, guys. I love that we've got a lot of input here. I wish all the audiences had so much input. All right, so we want to grow your business here at Transfer Express. I said it earlier, but just to go into a little bit more detail, the why. If you were to ask anybody here at Transfer Express, if you were to bump into any of us on the street and say, "Hey, why? Why do you work at Transfer Express? Why do you guys do what we do?" We're here to help you grow your business. We want you to be successful. We are all people here who love the entrepreneurial spirit. We love the idea of starting your own business, of being your own boss. We want you to be able to make your own money. Thank you, Joe. We're all a bunch of know-it-alls. That's great. But anyway, we here at Transfer Express, we genuinely have the desire to make you successful. I encourage you to give us a call. Our customer service staff is second to none. Our customer service staff will readily tell you that if you ask them a question that they don't have the answer to, the answer is never, gosh, I don't know, good luck. At the very worst, the answer is, you know what? Let me go find out. We will help you every way that we can. We do put out inspirational educational videos. We do webinars just like this, but we also do webinars. They go on our website, they go on our newsletters, they go on our e-coms and e-blasts and stuff. Oh, Monica, excellent customer service at Transfer Express every call. I am so glad to hear that. Eric Jones, one last question. What about copyright or trademark for schools? Eric, make sure you do have the proper copyright permission. If a logo is copywritten, even if a school says, hey, we have permission to do that, you still need to make sure you have the proper letter of permission for it. Anyhow, we do have a product. I mentioned this easier, but I want to take a second to explain it just a little bit better. I mentioned that we have a website service that we call EasyView. After you have made your first purchase with Transfer Express, we give you a dealer ID number and a password that allows you to log on to our website, and you get access to EasyView, our online design tool, where you can literally design a shirt right there on the spot and get a visual for it. Very simple, very fun. You can kill hours on EasyView just playing with the designs, honestly. And I say that from experience. But what's great is we're constantly updating EasyView with new artwork, with new fonts, new colors, new stuff. My favorite project it's just about to get released, and I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you all, but I'm going to mention it anyway, so don't tell anybody. We are getting to a point where in EasyView, you're going to be able to see your design on an actual live t-shirt. And better than that, after you see your design on that actual live t-shirt, you can download it, you can email it to your customer, all that. But what you'll be able to do is actually order the shirts with the transfers right off the bat. And all you got to do when you get the 2 boxes is press them right there on the spot. You can actually do all of the shopping right there from EasyView on the spot. So it's absolutely phenomenal. When? I don't have a date for you guys just yet. I know it's just about ready to get released here. We already are selling the apparel. If you guys don't know that, we are selling the apparel already. It's just it's not in EasyView quite yet. So maybe a Thanksgiving gift. Thank you to my helper behind the curtain there. Yes. But you can buy the apparel already from us. You just can't do it in EasyView just yet. So we're almost there. What would the profit margin be on that? Oh, okay, Loretta. Here is, you know what? I might have missed a slide somewhere. Pricing. Here is what you're going to want to do for pricing. What we suggest to all new businesses, so everybody get out your pen and paper for just a second here. What we suggest for all new businesses as a starting point is you take the cost of the transfer, you take the cost of the shirt, add them together, multiply it by 2. Oh, just like Joe says there. Thank you, Joe. So shirt plus transfer times 2. That's your starting point. Okay, now from there, you can tweak that as you need. All right. Now, if you're doing a front and a back, you add up both transfers plus the shirt times 2. All right. Now, you know your area and you know your customer base if you already have one better than I do. So if you need to lower that a little bit, you can call it a first-time customer discount and take $2-3 off that. Or again, if you're going to approach a school or a church and say, hey, I want to do shirts at your event, I'll give you $2 or $3 off of every shirt. Then you've definitely got margin to do that. All right. So definitely a way to make profit. You just have to, I will tell you, Loretta, that it takes a little bit of practice and it can be nerve-wracking at first for new customers when you're doing the whole pricing thing at first, but you do get the hang of it and you get an idea for what people in your area will pay and for how much extra or how you can charge. How do you account for the shipping charges, Lori? That's actually easy. What you do when you're invoicing your customer, when you're invoicing your client, you take the cost of shipping and divide it up into the cost of the shirts or the transfers. Honestly, it's that easy. So if you're doing, let's say you're doing 20 shirts, just kind of pulling a number out of the air here. If you're doing 20 shirts and shipping costs you $15, you just take the 20 divided by $15 and add that to the cost of the shirts. Real simple. Honestly, and that's how you're going to want to keep it. You don't want to absorb those fees. You're the business. You definitely want to make sure that you're getting paid in all those areas. You don't want to make money on the shipping necessarily, but you at least want to make sure that you're including those charges. And if you divide it up into the shirts like that, then it looks a lot more palatable for your customer. And as somebody pointed out a minute ago, the Transfer Express apparel is definitely competitively priced. So when you add in the shipping like that, you're not going to break the bank that way. So. All right. We have thrown out a lot of information in 50 minutes. I am not sure I have covered so much information with a group of people in such a brief amount of time ever. And I've been doing this a long time. I hope everybody got something out of it today. I hope everybody enjoyed the webinar. It doesn't have to end here, folks. If you have questions, shoot us an email. I encourage you to read our blogs. The blogs give you a lot of information. We definitely put out a lot of info on our blogs. I encourage you to check them out. Thank you, Rhonda. We appreciate that shout out. I was about to say, hit us up at the trade shows. We're at the trade shows. We were just at SGIA in Atlanta. We go all over the country. So if you have any imprinted sportswear or SGIA, NNEP, DAX trade shows in your area, don't hesitate to come with us. Come by and hit us up. But so check out our blogs, check out our website, hit us up on social media. Any Ohio shows, Mark? Yes, we do go to Columbus. We went to Columbus this year. I believe we're going next year. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. You were a very fun audience. I hope everybody joins me again next month. And oh gosh, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Next month, December 10th, I am going to introduce you to a brand new product. A brand new product introducing the newest transfer technology, stretched litho. This is a transfer type that is going to blow everybody away. This is going to be so much fun next month. I cannot wait. We've been waiting to introduce you all to stretch litho and tell you all about it. I cannot wait to tell you all about it. So definitely hit us up next month, December 10th, and I will introduce you to, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So hit me up. Come see me on December 10th, same time, same place. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And remember, what a tease. Thanks, Joe. And remember, the webinar is being recorded. So if you missed something, the recording will be at transferexpress.com in the next day or so. So I wish everybody a fantastic rest of your Thursday and happy t-shirt printing. Thanks, everyone.